At the edge of a small town, an old park lay quiet in the first light of day. The sound of crunching leaves and the cold wind were the only noises breaking the silence of the early morning. By the park's entrance, near a weathered bench, an old dog lay quietly. His eyes were fixed on the road ahead, watching every passing car intently. His once golden fur, now white and patchy, showed his age. This dog was Max. Max had once been full of energy, his shiny coat and cheerful demeanor making him the favorite of the neighborhood. But time had left its mark on him. His fur had thinned, his steps had slowed, and most of all, his eyes had changed. The excitement they once carried was now replaced with a quiet sorrow, a gaze filled with reproach. 8 years earlier, Max had been just a puppy when he was adopted by a young couple, Lisa and Tom, who had recently moved to town. From the moment they met Max, they formed a strong bond. Max's wagging tail brought life and joy to their quiet home. Tom often took him for runs, and Lisa would spend evenings reading with Max curled up on the couch beside her. Max was like their child, the center of their world, but life changed, as it often does. When Lisa became pregnant, priorities shifted. The couple became busy preparing for their baby, and Max's daily walks became less frequent. Over the years, Max spent more and more time in a quiet corner of the house, forgotten. As their young son grew, Max received even less attention, becoming a shadow of the cherished pet he once was. One morning, the family got into their car and drove off. Max, watching from the yard, wagged his tail as usual, expecting them to return soon. But they didn't come back. That day, Tom and Lisa had driven Max to the town park. "He's too old now," Lisa had said. "Maybe he'd be better off in a shelter." But instead of taking him to a shelter, they left him at the park. Someone might take him in, they thought, driving away. From that day on, Max lived in the park, but every morning, he waited by the road for the car that had left him. Every passing vehicle reignited a flicker of hope, only to leave him waiting again. The reproach in his eyes grew stronger with each passing day. Max's presence at the park didn't go unnoticed by the townspeople. Some left food for him, while others stopped to pet him. An elderly woman named Margaret became his most loyal friend. "Who left you here, sweetheart?" she would ask, while gently stroking his head and leaving a bowl of food. Margaret's grandchildren sometimes brought Max toys, but he rarely played with them. His focus remained on the road. One day, a young boy playing in the park approached Max. "Mom, why is this dog always here?" he asked. His mother sighed, pulling him close. "Sometimes people leave behind those they once loved," she said softly. The boy didn't fully understand, but Max's sad eyes struck a chord in his heart. 2 years passed, and Max became a symbol of loyalty in the town. His story spread after a young woman shared it on social media, drawing hundreds of responses. "How could anyone be so heartless?" wrote one commenter, echoing the anger and sadness of many. One day, a familiar car pulled up at the park entrance. Max perked up his ears, struggling to his feet. The car door opened, and Tom stepped out. Lisa and their now older son remained in the car. Tom froze when he saw Max. "He's still here," he murmured, disbelief written on his face. Max, his frail legs trembling, began to walk toward Tom. He recognized him. His tail wagged weakly, but his eyes still held the same quiet reproach. As Tom met Max's gaze, guilt consumed him. "I've come to take you home," he said in a broken voice. Lisa got out of the car, her voice sharp. "Tom, that dog is too old. We already have enough going on." But their son started crying. "Dad, please, let's take him home." Tom hesitated for a moment. Max, weary and weak, slowly lay down on the ground, waiting just as he had done every day for the past 2 years. A small crowd had gathered, watching the scene unfold. Margaret stepped forward, her voice firm. "Since the day you left him here, he's been waiting for you," she said. "If you're just going to abandon him again, don't touch him." Tom took a deep breath and looked at Max. "You're right," he said. Turning to Lisa, he added resolutely, "We're taking him home." When Max climbed back into the familiar car, he rested his head and drifted into a peaceful sleep for the first time in years. It took him some time to adjust to his old home, but this time, the family made sure he was never left out. Their son insisted on sleeping next to Max every night, and the old dog finally felt loved again. In his final years, Max lived surrounded by the warmth he had longed for. His story became a symbol of unwavering loyalty and the power of redemption, a reminder that mistakes can be made right if there's courage to change. One morning, Max passed away peacefully in his sleep, but this time he wasn't alone. His eyes, once filled with reproach, now reflected the peace of a heart finally at rest. Max's story reminds us of the power of loyalty and the enduring nature of love. His silent waiting reflects not only a dog's unwavering devotion to his owner, but also the courage of humans to make amends for their mistakes. Loyalty is a silent wait. Even if it takes years, love always finds its way. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories to life.